So I know I'm kind of late talking about this, but I did want to get around to making a dedicated video to this because I have a lot to say. So Nintendo announced that they are going to be making a Legend of Zelda movie, and this should come as a surprise to nobody. Obviously, after the success of the Mario movie, the next IP to mind would be The Legend of Zelda. And so as not to bury the lead, I am worried about this project. There are just a lot of red flags, and I don't think we're going to end up getting a great Zelda movie. First of all, the movie is being produced by Shigeru Miyamoto and Avi Arad. Now, Shigeru Miyamoto being a producer, that's cool, he is probably going to make sure that this doesn't end up being some bizarre, what the hell is going on movie like the original Super Mario Brothers movie. But I do think that people sometimes overestimate the importance of Shigeru Miyamoto when it comes to producing a movie, because really all he can do at the end of the day is just make sure that it's like accurate to the source material. As much as I love the Big Shig, he's not a filmmaker. When you look at the Super Mario Brothers movie, sure, it's accurate to the source material. You got a bunch of references, but that's really all there was to that movie. It was literally just pointing at the screen and going, I recognize that thing. I've played a Mario game. I know what that is. As far as the actual movie itself, it was a soulless Illumination movie. And hey, to a lot of people, they liked that about it. They were totally fine with that. I don't know, maybe I'm alone here. I mean, I am kind of alone because the movie was beloved. But I want more from that out of my movies. When I go to watch a movie, I want it to be good. And I guess I understand people not necessarily having super high standards when it comes to a Mario movie, but don't we want more from a Zelda movie? Like, don't you want that to be, like, great? I don't know, I do. So who is the fellow producing alongside the Big Shig? Why, that would be Avi Arad. Now, if you don't know who Avi Arad is, he's kind of the villain of the Spider-Man fandom. He's the guy that, when making Spider-Man 3, forced Sam Raimi to put Venom in the movie when Sam Raimi didn't really want to do that. And at the end of the day, sure, Sam Raimi should have just made a good movie with Venom, but there's no doubt that Sam Raimi making a movie that he didn't really want to make probably aided in it being bad. When it came to the Amazing Spider-Man movies, he's the guy that was like pushing to make like a shared cinematic universe, which really just ruined the Amazing Spider-Man 2. And his main gig right now seems to be making the modern Sony shared universe, which is like Venom and Morbius and Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter. So yeah, you heard that right. The Morbius guy. He's making the Zelda movie. And people will go, oh, but he also did the Spider-Verse movies. And here's the thing about producing. It's kind of a nebulous term. Like, a guy could sit in a meeting once and be labeled as a producer, and a guy could be, like, on set every day and making active decisions when making a movie, and he can also be labeled a producer. So when it comes to, like, producers, you kind of have to, like, follow the wreckage that they leave behind and just pick up the trail. So, like, when you look at Avi Arad and you read about the decisions that he's made when it comes to movies, when you read about Spider-Man 3 and you read about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it makes sense that that guy that was responsible for those decisions would go on to do the Venom movies. I don't think that Avi Arad is really all that responsible for the Spider-Verse movies. It seems to be the case that Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who are like really in charge of those movies, right? Those are the guys that made Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the Lego movie, and then went on to make the Spider-Verse movies. That wreckage, that trail tracks. So to be fair, we don't know for sure, but I don't think that Avi Arad had much to do at all with the Spider-Verse movies. Now, the other interesting part about this movie is that it's being co-financed by Nintendo and Sony? So, in a weird roundabout way, PlayStation is helping make the Mario movie. And that's just interesting because from what I understand, Nintendo and Sony don't really like each other, but maybe that's just Nintendo and like then the PlayStation division of Sony. Maybe it's the case that Sony Pictures, which make movies and whatever, that maybe Nintendo doesn't see them as the same thing. Or maybe they're just adults and they realize that they can make a lot of money together. That's also very possible. Okay, now I was being all doom and gloom about Avi Arad and him sticking his grubby little fingers where they didn't need to be, but it was directing the movie. Surely they got a great director to make it. Well, they have Wes Ball. What movies has he directed, you may be asking me right now? Well, my child, I will tell you. He directed the Maze Runner movies. And that's it. Now, I admittedly have not seen the Maze Runner movies, but if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores, it's like the one franchise where critics and audiences are pretty much in agreement that they're not very good. And now, hey, maybe I would watch those movies and I would go, screw all of you. These movies are fantastic. Eat your heart out, Steven Spielberg. Now, these are blockbuster filmmaking. But I kind of doubt it. They kind of just look like shitty YA movies. Now, he is also directing the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is a continuation of the 3 like modern-day Planet of the Apes reboots. And I really love those movies. We definitely have to keep an eye out on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because if he's able to come in and make a worthy installment in that franchise, then I will immediately get more excited about this Zelda movie. And as far as who's writing the movie, it's a guy called Derek Connolly, and he has written movies such as the Jurassic World trilogy and The Rise of Skywalker. Now, he has also written stuff like Kong Skull Island, which I admittedly haven't seen, but I feel like people generally enjoyed that movie. Now, he also wrote Detective Pikachu, which, again, I haven't seen, but I'm pretty sure that movie was received well. So, yeah, this is a guy that, at his worst, is god-awful, and at his best is pretty good. Yeah, sorry, I would like somebody with a really great track record writing the Zelda movie. And so to wrap around what I mentioned at the beginning, Shigeru Miyamoto being involved, cool. That's not a bad thing, but you need good talent to actually make the movie. Shigeru Miyamoto is not a filmmaker. Now, the last thing that they announced that I'm actually not that concerned about is the fact that the movie is going to be live action instead of animated. I personally think that Zelda is a franchise that is pretty adaptable, and you can really go for any style that you want. Yeah, they could have gone with Illumination and made a cartoony Zelda movie like Wind Waker. Yeah, they also totally could have gone with Studio Ghibli and made an anime movie. I was actually kind of hoping for, I never thought in a million years it would happen, but I kind of wanted to see Laika, you know, the guys that made Coraline and Kubo and the Two Strings, get the IP. But, I mean, yeah, you could also make a Lord of the Rings-esque Zelda movie and go big budget blockbuster with it. I honestly think that Zelda could very well work in that context. Now, they haven't talked about casting yet, but the fact that they're working with Sony means that we need to brace ourselves, because there is a very real possibility that they get Tom Holland to play Link. I'm not trying to jinx it. I'm just saying that we need to accept that that is an above 40% chance of happening. And to be fair, he wouldn't be terrible casting for it. I mean, I think at this point, he's probably too old. Like, you'd probably want to get somebody below 25 to play Link, I would say. And, I mean, obviously, he'd be out of the running if they were to go for a child Link. As far as who I would want to play Link, honestly, I'd like to see them go with unknowns. You know, I'd like to just go in and be fully immersed in the world of Zelda, and not be like, oh, I recognize that actor. I know who that is. I don't know that I really want that out of a Zelda movie. So, yeah, I mean, that's about all we know about the Zelda movie. And, yeah, that's about all the information that we have. I want to clarify that I don't want this movie to be bad. I know I've been negative throughout this video. But based on all of the information that we have, I simply don't have high hopes for this thing. But anyways, I'll get off of my soapbox here. Let me know what you think about the Zelda movie. Who cares about what I have to say? I want to know what you have to say. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.